No. That's an old-fashioned camera.
I was going to say that as well. You've got one touch of
First up is 6:36. He actually has a meeting tonight.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Essex Forestry Museum. That is as far as my introduction is going to go, because we have other people joining us to welcome you to the event. So I'd like to introduce the chairman of Essex Forestry Council, Councillor Mary Sartin.
Good evening, everyone. And I had no idea how many people were sitting behind me because when I came in, there were only 3 or 4 or 5 people dotted around. So, welcome everybody. A really warm welcome to this annual, as I understand, annual Essex Faith Covenant event, which is a chance for faith-based organisations and public services to connect with each other, to learn from each other, and just to explore various aspects of faith. Firstly, I'd like to thank the Essex Faith Covenant for choosing to host this year's event here in Waltham Abbey, but obviously within Epping Forest District, and particularly at this museum, our District Council Museum. It's a privilege to be able to welcome everyone to come together here to showcase the work that's been happening in this part of Essex, and it also gives an opportunity for new partnerships and connections to happen to enhance what is already taking place. And I know lots is happening, not just in our district, our county, but throughout the country regarding interaction between different faiths. And the work of the Covenant is bringing together faith communities and public services, which strengthens that community cohesion, which is something that we as a district and a council are particularly passionate about driving forward. I do look forward to hearing more about the work of the Covenant. It was not something that I was aware of. Although a Christian myself, a member of the United Reformed Church, I don't actually attend a church within our district, so I don't know so much about what's going on within this area itself. So throughout this evening, you'll have that chance to hear about the specific work that this museum has been doing collaboratively with the faith groups to ensure that the collection that we have here is relevant and representative of the local community, and that obviously includes all the faith groups within the community. And you'll also have a chance to speak and to hear from partners about Epping Forest District Council's projects that are taking place, and also obviously the opportunity to meet the various faith leaders who joined us here this evening. So I hope that you enjoy the evening and that you do get the opportunity to network, that wonderful word that is in our vocabulary these days, and find out more about the Faith Covenant, which is something that I'm going to look forward to hearing more about, and also to explore the marketplace stalls which have been set up through in the museum exhibit areas. So finally, I'd just say congratulations to the Faith Covenant group, because I gather that this is your 5th year, 5 years as a group that since you were first set up. And I would now like to invite Sidra Naeem, a Deputy Lieutenant of Essex, and also the Chair of the Mid-Essex Interfaith Forum, who will also say a few words. So I hope you all enjoy the evening, get a lot out of it, and as I say, I look forward as well to hearing what has been said today.
Good evening everybody and welcome. I'm Sidra and I am Deputy Lieutenant for the County of Essex. I would like to welcome you all to the Essex Faith Covenant event for faith-based organisations and public services to connect, explore and learn together. Since its launch in October 2017, the purpose of the Essex Faith Covenant is a joint commitment to a shared set of principles that guide engagement between faith communities and public services. It aims to promote open, practical working and strengthen community cohesion. The Essex Faith Covenant brings values to our communities by public services and faith-based organisations working closely together. It also promotes interfaith dialogue. Living in a multicultural country, I believe it is really important to learn about each other's faith and culture. During the pandemic, the whole world, no matter what race, colour, creed or faith, faced the same calamity together. The Faith Covenant proved a valuable link in interfaith relations and cooperation and further cemented strong friendships and alliances between our communities. It is important people can come together and overcome differences and celebrate their similarities and shared values through common fun initiatives, and the Faith Covenant actually helped to promote this. The Essex Faith Covenant has over 40 signatories across public services and our faith communities, encompassing 11 district local authority areas. Epping Forest District Museum is one of the Covenant signatories run through the District Council. Tonight we will learn more about its work with faith-based organisations. There will also be an opportunity to network with other faith-based and public service organisations from around Essex and Waltham Abbey. I would now like to introduce Reverend Ivor Moody and Andrew Lowing, Senior Qualities and Partnership Advisor for Essex County Council. Thank you.
Well, good evening. The disadvantage of being third is that you just hear people say what you were going to say. So I'm just going to say two things really about the Covenant. The first is that it started 5 years ago, and I can't really believe that, 5 years. And it's part of a national movement, a national initiative that was started by the All-Party Parliamentary Group, chaired by Stephen Timms, who is the MP for Newham, I think. He chairs it. 5 years ago and beyond, they were encouraging as many areas as possible to start these faith covenants, to begin to bring local authorities, public services and faith groups together. And the first thing I want to say about the covenant really is that we were the first county-wide covenant. It was a big gamble. The APBG went, whoa, when we said we were going to do it. But we did it, and I think since there's been 3 or 4 more now, county-wide covenants that are in operation across the country. So we really were the first, and we blazed a bit of a trail. The second thing I'm going to do is embarrass Andrew. I love embarrassing Andrew. I mean, he's just great, really. But it's important to say that the covenant wouldn't work as a county organisation, a cross-county organisation, without the support of the county council. And Andrew is an employee of the council, but he has been seconded specifically by the council to work on this project with me. And his contribution is absolutely invaluable, not just to the running of the covenant, but to the Essex-wide appeal that it's got. And I simply want to say, Andrew's going to give a bit of meat on the bones now, but just before I sit down, I just wanted to say a very personal thank you to Vanessa and Francesca and the team here at the museum, because you've heard what the covenant is. It's a combination and a partnership between public services, faith groups and others, statutory voluntary services. And this evening is a perfect example of that. Just look round and see who is here. I know that the museum have worked very hard to put on tonight, so a very warm thank you. And the idea of these evenings is not that the covenant, comes and says, "Hello, we're the covenant. We're going to come to support you." It's the idea is the covenant is showcased in a local area for local people, in the hope that this continuing combination of services, of faith groups, of networking, and idea sharing carries on and grows at a local level. And we're proud to support this event. We have one event like this a year, where we try and go to a particular covenant partner and say, could you do something for us, not on a county level, but on a local level, but nonetheless to support and promote the covenant. All right, so I'm now going to hand over to Andrew.
Thanks, Ivor. I'd just like to echo Ivor's words and thank colleagues here at Epping Forest for hosting the event this evening. It's really great to be here. I can't believe 12 months ago we were doing the same thing down in Benfleet, actually, at Havens Hospice, hearing about the work they were doing. And actually, I'm just thinking back 12 months, and the covenant has really grown in that 12 months. Lots has happened. We've invited lots of new signatories, and hopefully we'll hear from one of those in a minute or two. But I just want to say a little bit about the workings of the covenant, how it operates. So, as Sidra mentioned, we have about 40 signatories right now, so that encompasses both public services and faith-based organisations. And we have a steering group which heads the covenant, and we meet every 2 months post-COVID, because we thought it was important to keep those, the momentum going around those meetings. And we discuss a wide range of topics, and we get lots of different guest speakers. Just to give you a flavour, we've had discussions around building community resilience around domestic abuse, getting a faith perspective on mental health, and just in our most recent steering group meeting the other week, we devoted quite a bit of time to the cost of living crisis and sort of getting the faith perspective on that, which was really useful and really valuable. And that fed into a lot of the work that the County Council and some other partners are doing around it. But I'd say steering group meetings work because they're an opportunity to network, and a lot of the time is devoted to hearing updates from different partners, what they're up to in their local area, what groups are they interacting with, what's working well, sharing that best practice, so potentially it could be replicated elsewhere. The covenant, where covenants work well across the country really, I think they have a kind of common purpose, a theme which unites all of the signatories. And for the last couple of years we've had a sort of overarching theme of health and well-being, but with a particular focus on social prescribing. Getting faith-based organisations more involved and aware of social prescribing. And that was off the back of a report that Faith Action did, which Faith Action is a national body that looks after sort of faith relations and interests, saying that it's a really missed opportunity that more faith-based organisations are not involved in social prescribing, because they do so much valuable work within the community. So we thought that would be an excellent idea, in conversation with Faith Action, to do a pilot project to kick off thinking around this really. So we did a small pilot project in Colchester. It lasted about 9 months, and we involved local public services and faith-based organisations. And we got quite a bit achieved actually, considering it was such a small group. We delivered a number of training sessions for faith-based organisations. We got some comms assets, social media assets that could be used to promote social prescribing. A resource was created for social prescribing professionals to understand how to have those conversations with faith-based organisations around the topics they're interested in. But one particular resource that we're particularly proud of is a toolkit, which is kind of getting that regional recognition. It's been the only one of its kind, and it's really there to enable faith-based organisations to learn more about social prescribing if they want to get involved, and there's a checklist that they can sort of work through in terms of getting the activities that they put on recognised within their local area. As I say, that's something we're quite proud of, and it is getting that national and regional recognition. So it's in draft at the moment, but we're hoping to push that forward in the new year. Over the last year as well, as I mentioned earlier, we have had a number of new signatories join, which is really great. One of them, from the public service side, Southend Borough Council, City Council now, have indicated that they want to join. And unfortunately, they were hoping to be here tonight but couldn't make it in the end. They're going to use the opportunity today to have that sort of public declaration of wanting to become a signatory, but that will follow in the coming weeks. But it's good to know that they're on board. And a number of faith groups as well have joined recently, including the Chelmsford Sikh community, and it's great to see representatives here tonight. And I was just going to ask Sweta if she doesn't mind coming up just to say a little bit about what it means to her in terms of becoming a signatory in the last few months. So over to you.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello everyone. Hello ladies and gentlemen. I would like to introduce myself. I'm Shweta Kaur and I'm here with my husband Jaspal Singh, and we are representing Sikhs of Chelmsford group. It's a newly formed group, and it's a happy coincidence that I'm here today in front of many people who have spoken online in past 1 year, and I'm meeting them, some of them for the first time. That today is actually Gurpurab, which is 553rd birth anniversary of the Sikh founder. So it's a very happy occasion for us to be here. And just, I will not take a lot of time, but I would just like to point out a couple of points of his teachings, which one of the key one is equality for all human beings, and irrespective of the caste, gender, creed, race, class, as Rose mentioned, like we all suffered the same when COVID hit and pandemic happened, and the formation of our group was started before pandemic, but then during pandemic we became very strong, and we did in online meetings and stuff, and then what we did is after that we organized, once the lockdown was opened and we could meet, we organized an event which was a Vaisakhi event, which is a Sikh festival where we interacted with local community, and that's where I met Andrew, and that has led us to be a part of this wonderful group, the Essex Covenant, and we are really delighted to be part of this group. And I would just like to point out that Sikhism, one of the key principles, as I mentioned, is equality for all, and we talk about being an inclusive society in the religion, and that teachings was inculcated in our religions many centuries ago, and they are relevant to this date. And being a part of this covenant group, being a member of this, we look forward to practicing that belief, that teaching. We have lived as Sikhs over the generations, that we become inclusive of the community, we help each other, be a part of the growing community, and learn about different religions and cultures, and find a way out where we can have integrated society, and we don't differentiate ourselves but celebrate our differences. So I'm really looking forward to our time here representing the Sikh faith, and it's a privilege and honor to be part of this annual meeting. I'm really humbled to be invited here, and I think that's about it. I won't take much of your time. If anyone of you have any questions or any follow-up, we can obviously network, the favorite word, after the speeches, and also I will share our social media handles for us to keep in touch. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
I'm going to do my best not to mention the word network. So I'm going to have to stand on this side, so I've just got a couple of nice images for everyone to look at. So for those I haven't spoken to yet, I'm Francesca Pellegrino. I'm the team manager for Heritage and Venues at Epping Forest District Council, with a particular remit to look after the museum service where we are tonight. And I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about some of the work that we've done here at the museum, but more widely in the council as well, and kind of how we've benefited as well from being part of the Covenant. So we joined the Covenant in May 2021, Vanessa had to provide me with that date, which was very helpful. And we really recognise the importance of being part of that working partnership, how we could benefit from being part of it, but also be empowered to do more work ourselves in our council. Since joining the group, we've had several opportunities to be part of some of the things that Andrew specifically talked about, but as I say, we've also developed some of our own projects and working as a result of kind of the information we gathered, and I think the confidence we've built from being part of the covenant. The council's museum service in particular, so this is some nice images of the museum, has been heavily involved in developing some of these faith-based projects. We feel like museums are quite unique places to do some of this work. They're quite neutral environments and quite flexible spaces for communities to engage with local history, and we've developed lots of different projects over the last couple of years particularly. But we also have started to put equality, diversity and inclusion at the heart of our plans here at the museum, particularly over the next few years, something we really want to focus on. And we want to make sure that the museum is telling the stories of diverse communities. The communities we live in are ever changing, so therefore the museum stories need to be ever changing to match that. And beyond just doing it as small projects, we actually want it to become part of our permanent displays here at the museum, so that all communities feel reflected in what we're sharing here. So we have developed a kind of 3 to 5 year plan, focusing on different groups that we want to work with, engage with and represent within our collections. We are covering things like race, gender, sexual orientation, as well as faith projects as well. So we've undertaken a few projects over the last few years, and I thought I would just highlight a couple of those for you. So one that we're particularly proud of is a recent project that we focused on entitled The Boys, which is the story of Holocaust survivors that came to the Epping Forest district and lived in a house within the district for a while. And this was a project that we got funding for, so it was funded by the National Lottery Heritage Fund, but it saw us undertake a variety of things. So we created a temporary and touring exhibition. This is telling the story of the survivors, but it was a real exhibition of hope and post-Holocaust stories. We also developed an education resource and book. We ran an event where we actually took the survivors back to the house that they stayed in, so that's where we are here. We've run a number of workshops, activities and events to be part of that. But probably the most important thing I think that's come out of that project is the long-lasting relationships that we've built. So that's with the 45 Aid Society, which is a group for survivors and their relatives, the local Jewish community, and we have a real pledge to keep telling that story forevermore through the resources that we've got and the temporary exhibition programme as well. So as I mentioned, we have a real commitment to long-lasting relationships, so we really don't want what we do to be a temporary thing. We really want to build those relationships in the community. So as part of our first ever Interfaith Week project, we were able to work with local communities to both loan and actually be gifted objects that tell their story. So we put on a temporary display originally, but some of these objects are now part of our permanent collection here at the museum. And when you go around, I'm not going to steal Ian, who's the collections officer here at the museum's thunder. He will tell you a bit more about that project and how we're embedding that into our permanent displays. At the time, as I say, it was temporary, so those relationships have been built now, and we really hope we can keep working together going forward. For this year's Interfaith particular project that we're going to do, we are working with groups that we've now built those relationships with, and we are looking to develop an online, kind of an online exhibition of photographs, and there will also be an opportunity to see that in person, and you may all be getting a little preview of that shortly. So these long-lasting relationships have also seen us recently invited to Diwali celebrations at our local mandir, where we were able to strengthen those relationships, but also it was an opportunity for us to share the work we do, the projects we do, and we went along with our whole community culture and wellbeing team. So the museum sits within that service, bringing all of those things together. So we think it was beneficial for us, but we actually think it was beneficial for the community as well, for us to be able to share our work. Andrew mentioned cost of living. So it's part of the council's efforts to coordinate warm places. This winter we've reached out to a lot of our faith community partners. A lot of work's already going on, so our role really is to try and bring all that together and make sure people are aware of what's actually happening out in the community. A lot of these faith-based venues also work closely with us to provide venues for community events and activities such as puzzle clubs and dementia fairs. And we also have a community champions programme in the council where representatives of all faiths are based at the heart of communities, really helping to tackle things like loneliness and supporting those who can't currently access a lot of services. So we've collated a list of these spaces welcoming individuals into their buildings to help support people over the coming winter period. And as part of this, we hope that again those relationships don't end there and we continue to work with those organisations. Andrew mentioned health and wellbeing, which is at the heart of a lot of what we do. So we hope that again building those relationships, we will have further partners to be part of our health and wellbeing strategy, which you might hear a bit about as you go around later on. And that is a partnership document where we really put equality and equity at the heart of what we're trying to achieve in our communities. So we hope that again those relationships will help build and develop what we're trying to achieve with that. Alongside this, we're also currently working closely with youth commissioners from the church to provide activities in youth club provision, particularly here in Waltham Abbey. So I'd just sort of like to end that really partnership is firmly at the heart of everything that community culture and wellbeing do, and it's only by working together that we can bring together all the different knowledge, awareness, skills and access to successfully support and help communities feel fully involved in what we're doing. We're excited to see the future involvement with the Covenant and what it brings. We hope to continue the work that we've already started here, particularly in the museum, but also wider within community culture and wellbeing, and the offer we can provide for our communities. But we really want to embed the work that we're doing rather than it being a tokenistic approach. That's the end of my presentation. Thank you for listening to me. So I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about what's going to happen next. So you're pleased to hear I'm the last person to speak at you for a little while. So now is an opportunity for you to have a comfort break and have a little look around the museum, but also in various places in the different galleries you will find some of the partners that I've spoken about. You'll find out a bit more about the museum projects. So we have got the Museum Collections Officer talking about our faith-based projects. You have got our Public Health Improvement Officer from Epping Forest District Council. He was quite heavily involved with the health and wellbeing strategy, so I might mention that at some point. We've also got the Epping Forest Youth Counsellors talking about a heritage project that they worked on not too long ago, linked back to the boys project that I mentioned. We've got our Community Safety and Essex Police team, Active Essex and Red Balloon all here. So they're going to talk about some of the projects they've worked on. I won't say the N-word, but maybe have a chat with people, exchange contact details, just see what's going on, and hopefully people will be inspired by what's going on. Yes, so you're welcome to get up, stretch your legs, use the facilities and have a wander around and see what's going on.
Yeah.
So it's really nice, like we say, it's actually really nice to learn about young things and come to the museum. So we don't often get a chance to hear what they do. There's that. So it was foundational structure coming to talk. There was a few people that were in the hundreds. Yeah, absolutely. And then when I looked at the cafes and that space as well as civic, which has been improved. It's just like a safe space for people to come and meet and have a drink. That's
Yeah, so you're thinking of when you're 16, but we do that in the States. Say I do want to find yeah, then probably discuss.
To match that. And part of our permanent displays here at the museum.
You should never really mention food in the Jewish religion because we eat too much of the wrong stuff. It's better.
It's good for your mental health though.
It's great for mental health, it's just really bad for other parts of your body.
But then, that again, you know. Yeah.
Which is the Festival of Life.
Yeah.
Commemorates we just have enough holy oil. So we traditionally
We are, some of us really have.
My family's originally from right up north in Italy, so a lot of our food is custard, cheese, and then my best friends are from Palermo.
I love old history and things. And there's one.
That Ian's put into his cabinet very recently. So I think Elisa would like to talk to you about the
we have someone who is going to close our event for us. So I'd like to welcome Rabbi Bramman of the Shabbat Ludwig of Buckhurst Hill.
Okay, thank you very much, Francesca, and thank you to everybody involved. I feel everybody's come back into this room just to hear me speak. And it's never easy being the closing speaker of an evening. You never know what anybody would have said before you, and of course many tough acts to follow. So I've really just been asked to close the evening and to share a little bit about how our community has been involved with the various faith projects that have gone on around the district. And just since I've got involved over the last couple of years, there have been a lot of projects which have engaged and involved the Jewish community. So it was really special to be involved, firstly with the Boys Project that you've heard much about. Many people that we know personally were involved. We actually had a survivor who lived on our road on Ardmore Lane in Buckhurst Hill, which was really special to learn a lot more about the project. So that was really nice to be involved with. some of you pointed out, well, that's your picture up there. A little bit earlier, I felt really honoured to have been at the unveiling of the blue plaque at the actual house in edge of Buckhurst-Hill and Loughton, where those boys spent a period of time when they were rescued from the war, which was really special. So that's a real honourable history that the district has, to have been able to have given those boys a safe haven, and many of them were there, many of them in the late 80s and 90s, with children and grandchildren, showing their appreciation to the district and the people who had been involved. And then there have been 2 other projects we've been involved with, which was both mentioned here, the faith exhibits that were here in the museum, which was very nice, and just recently we've been working together with Ian, helping to update their picture gallery with many pictures, obviously, I can provide of Jewish life around the district. It was mentioned here we are a group of varied faith leaders and council community workers, and it's a very special thing that we come together, and I can use the word networking because I'm the last one, so why not? And it is an important thing to do. We all have our own focus, we all have our own communities, in a sense, specifically as faith leaders. We very much live within the cocoon of our communities for most of our time, and therefore it is very important for us to come out, to meet others, and to share what we do. Wanted to tell a little bit about myself, perhaps it would be appropriate. I do a lot of work in local schools. There's not many rabbis in Buckhurst-Hill, there's not many rabbis across the district. It's a very big area, all of us work together, and I get asked a lot to come into primary schools, and specifically they have a religious studies curriculum, and many schools contacted me towards the end of their Jewish studies element of the curriculum. Can I come in, talk about what a rabbi does, and answer all of the children's questions? And one of the first things I always say when I go into a school is that I can see in front of me a very diverse group of children. We come from different backgrounds, different faiths, different ways of life, and one of the most important things that we can do is learn and understand about each other, because when we understand each other, then we can respect each other as well. And within conversations with a number of you this evening, I think it's very clear that we are all really dedicated towards the same purpose, which is peace and harmony in the world, happiness. People should be fulfilled, and we all have our different contributions that we bring towards that end within our communities. And I can also see here that the demographics, it's a natural thing that demographics change. It was pointed out upstairs there was an old central line map, and you can actually trace the journey of the Jewish community in this country from after the war if you go down the central line. So probably most of you would know that the East End was a very, very Jewish area after the war. And if you go to the East End today, you probably wouldn't spot a Jewish person walking around very easily, and the community has moved along. Maybe perhaps 20 years ago, Ilford, Redbridge, the wider Redbridge area, was actually one of the biggest Jewish communities in Europe, and those demographics are changing as well. We have a representative here from Chigwell and Hainault United Synagogue, which is one of the largest communities in the area, and over the last few years there's continued to be a shift. Jewish people moving further out, actually into Essex. So my wife and I set up a community in Buckhurst-Hill 18 years ago now. Over the last couple of years, Jewish people have been moving further out. There's now a new fledgling community in Epping as well, and people are moving across the district, really spreading out, which is a challenge for us as faith leaders, because our communities are very much centred around our synagogues, and as people move further out, perhaps becoming a little less committed to their faith, we run after them in a sense to try and be there to serve. My wife and I moved to Buckhurst-Hill with no children 17 years ago now. We set up a small synagogue, a makeshift synagogue in the front room of our house, probably about a third of the size of this room, and here we are 18 years later, cover your ears for a moment. We now have 11 children, and we have a beautiful community. We have a large building on the Epping New Road with a large synagogue. We have events and prayer services every single day of the week, and that's what we do to serve the community. And it's very important that we come to events like this to gather together. It's been a real honour to have been of assistance to the museum and the various departments of the council that have put on various events and exhibitions over the years, and I pray that we should all have the strength and the foresight to continue to work together, to support each other in the important work that we do. And a big thank you to all of those, firstly from the council, from the museum, for hosting this evening, and for the various departments within the council and the councillors that are here and the chairman of the council that are here, and for supporting these very important initiatives, because ultimately we're living in challenging times and everybody needs a little bit of reinsurance. And I think one thing that I thought about this evening when I was coming round is, of course, we provide, and the council provides, many very important services for the wider community, and our faith hubs, if that could be the right word, are places where people come to, and therefore we have a very important role to play in connecting people and with the various services of the wider community. So when we come together at events like this and we network, we gain a little bit more understanding of what there is out there, what we can direct people to when there's help needed. And God should bless you all, that you should continue to have strength to do what you do, and we should continue to support each other. Thank you very much again.
That's it.
That was the end of the evening. So thank you.